Hi guys, welcome to the Overdrive Digital Show. I know it's been a while since we've been live, and that's because first we were very busy shooting special stories for you, and then most of us in the team got hit by the gigantic third COVID-19 wave. But most of us are back in action now. Hope you guys are doing well too. As you know, the comment section is where you can drop us your questions. Bert and Chris will be joining us shortly to answer your motoring queries. But let's start the show with a very sought after comparison test. We recently put the Tata Punch and the Renault Kiger on a level playing field to see which one you might want to put your money on. Here's that story.
I'm going to be honest here, I wasn't quite expecting the Tata Punch to be competition to the Renault Kiger. Now the Kiger has been our choice of affordable compact SUV, and the Punch as a micro SUV is priced tantalizingly close and even exceeds it in some cases. But we're here to tell you which car would be the better pick.
With either of these two, you're getting a crossover that has ties to the family range with similar eyebrow DRL and lower headlight placement on both. In the Tata's case, that Butch connection goes as far up the range as the Harrier/Safari. For the Kiger, the reminder stretches back to the smaller Kwid. That said, the Kiger is striking to look at with plenty of muscle and flair, though perhaps the wheel arch cladding is a bit overdone. Just from that point of view, the Punch looks more proportionate, though both ride on similarly short 16-inch wheels with 195 section rubber.
What a step up the Punch is for a Tata car. This easily has to be one of the most impressive Tata cabins till date, and it gets that way just through a very intelligent use of textured plastics. Yes, they're as hard as the plastics are in the Kiger, but just the different textures. You get this 3D printed texture here, Tata motif imprinted in the texture here, and it's all over. Like touches like this, the door handles, actually make it feel like a lot richer experience than even the Kiger, even though technically that's a segment up. What you will also like, perhaps if you're a taller driver, is the fact that the driver's seat goes a little lower down and it makes you feel like you're sitting more in the car, which actually makes it feel more car-like than SUV-like, though you do definitely get a commanding driving position and great visibility all around if you want it. Space utilization isn't the best, even though the width of the cabin itself is very good. So two full-size adults sitting in the front, they are not going to rub shoulders. But the center storage area doesn't have as deep cup holders as one might have liked. It just seems like there could have been a smarter way to do it, and one of the smartest things that Tata could have done is actually put in an armrest. Your first impression of the Kiger's cabin is just how much space there is and how well utilized it is. Compared to the Punch, it does feel like there's a lot more happening, but in a good way. You've got large central storage, you've got armrest, there's even wireless charging and 2 tiers of storage right there. You've also got all digital instrumentation that's a lot more comprehensive than the instrumentation in the Punch. A larger touchscreen infotainment system with wireless smartphone integration. And overall, it feels a lot more SUV-like because you're sat higher up, and you even get that XUV experience in how thick the A-pillar is, which sometimes gets in the way of visibility. If space is your priority, the Kiger should be your choice between these two cars because this is a larger car. There is much more length between the two wheels in the Kiger, and it definitely pays off in the amount of knee room that you have. In terms of headroom, both cars are very similar. In terms of shoulder width, there's very similar amounts of space, though the Kiger definitely does have the more comfortable rear seat with a more comfortable angle of recline where you can actually sit back and relax. Further, the Kiger offers rear AC vents, which is really a must in this day and age, and it really sets it apart between these two cars that are very similarly priced. Getting into the rear seat of the Punch is quite a novel experience considering that the door handles are way up in the C-pillar and the fact that the doors themselves open 90 degrees wide to allow for very easy ingress and egress. Unlike how we said that taller drivers might prefer the Punch because the driver's seat goes further down, If they sat at the back, they actually would definitely prefer the Kiger because there's just a lot more knee room. Headroom, like we said, is very similar, but thigh support in the Punch definitely falls behind the thigh support on offer in the Kiger.
Of the two, only the Punch has been crash tested by the G NCAP with a stellar 5-star rating. On safety features alone, both are about equal with 2 airbags, ABS and EBD as standard. The Kiger though is available with 4 airbags on the top 2 variants, so that's a big plus if you're shopping at that end of the segment.
Though the Punch is the smaller car here, on paper, its engine specs are more impressive and there really is no replacement for displacement. This is a 1.2-litre, 3-cylinder, naturally aspirated petrol engine and it's got a sizable power and torque bump over the engine in the Kiger. Both these cars feel very similarly geared, but a crucial difference is that the gear shift quality and clutch action in the Punch just make it seem a little more city-friendly. The shifts themselves feel very positive and lack some of that rubbery feeling that we've complained about this very same powertrain in different Tata applications. Jumping into the Kiger, the power deficit is not immediately apparent, but as soon as you put your foot down, you do realize that while the Punch itself lacks some of the proverbial punch, the Kiger just feels a lot more relaxed with this 1-litre non-turbo engine. In fact, right from getting off the line where the clutch on the Kiger feels a little more heavy and a little more springy, where the bite point is much further back, it just feels like it takes a little more effort to drive in the city. Though it is worth pointing out that the gearbox on the Kiger feels like it has much better definition to the shifts themselves and the gates. But then again, the fact that the clutch feels heavier just makes it feel like it's a little more work. What most people are likely to appreciate is that slightly higher SUV-like driving position. Like we mentioned earlier, there is a bit of a visibility blind spot because of the thick A-pillar, and on this particular car that we borrowed from a friend, the sunshades actually get in the way even further, just narrowing your visibility out the front and to the right to a very narrow spot below the wing mirror. The Kiger's got 3 drive modes that make a lot more difference than the Punch's normal and eco drive modes, where for 99% of city driving, I'd recommend you just stick it in normal and be done with it. Sport mode in the Kiger does seem to wake up the engine a little bit, and it's the only one in this segment that actually affects the feel of the steering as well. And it does feel impressively weighted at highway speeds, but the flip side is that if you forget and leave it in sport mode, if you're just driving around in the city, you will feel that extra heft when it comes to taking U-turns. And once again, this steering rack isn't the most consistent out there, fluctuating between feeling light and heavy, often at the same speed. Our test figures show that while the outright acceleration difference isn't astounding, it's so slim it could just be test variation, the in-gear acceleration figures tell a completely different story.
Despite that, the Punch posted significantly higher fuel efficiency numbers, which is surprising considering we've seen this drivetrain be less than ideal efficient in a car like the Nexon. This more than makes up for the smaller fuel tank capacity in terms of overall driving range of the Punch versus the Kiger.
In the Punch's favor, it does drive like a larger car. The steering feels perfectly weighted and it's consistent and precise right through. And while we complained of a slight firm edge to the ride quality when we first drove the Punch, it seems like it's very dependent on tire pressures because we got this car with much lower tire pressures than recommended and it felt plush. We have since filled up the tires with the manufacturer recommended tire pressures and it has led a little more of an edge to the ride, but in the company of the Kiger, this definitely has the more polished ride quality and the less noisy suspension, and overall it just makes for a much smoother driving experience. In comparison to the Punch, the ride quality feels like it's a little more bouncy and it transmits a little more of what the road surface is right into the cabin.
While the Punch is the better driving car, it's not an altogether easy recommendation considering we think Tata may have got a little ambitious with the pricing on it. If it were Rs 50,000 to a lakh more affordable, it would be an easy call. But the Kiger does offer more frills for less money, not to mention more space. For the Punch's better dynamics and inherent characteristics that make it feel a little more quality, it wins this Comparo and is the car I'd prefer to drive around. But for a family of 4 or 5, you might be better off looking at the Kiger.
All right, guys, if you have any questions about this particular comparison test, do write to us in the comments section. Let's have Bert and Chris on the show, please. Hi, Bert. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Sony. Hi, Christopher.
Hi. Hi, guys. It's a new year. Yay.
Yes, he can hear you. So, Bert, first of all, Mayur had a question. He wanted to know that if the Magnite was considered in this comparison test, would it have made any difference?
Well, it would have made a difference, of course. But before that, of course, welcome back. It's been a very, very long time since we've gone live with the show. And today we've got a COVID special in the house. Someone just reminded me that all of us today on the show have been affected by COVID. Soini, myself, Chris, and even our assistant producer Vivek, who's sitting behind the scenes and managing all of this. Well, we all have got bitten by the bug, and we're all recovering. Of course, we're all recovering, and we're all back in action. But it has taken quite a bit. It has taken quite a toll on all of us, and we're all still a little under the weather. I guess we're still recovering, but we should be up to speed in very, very short order. So coming back to the comparison, Kiger versus Punch, and the one question that we just saw pop up on YouTube was Mayur asking us what happens if the Magnite would be considered in this test as well. Well, I think the Magnite would stand. Keep in mind, it's exactly the same car as the Kiger, and the only differences over here are the quality of materials that are used in the Magnite compared to the Kiger, where the Kiger feels significantly more premium in that sense. But in favor of the Magnite, what you've got is better cost overall, and that makes it more affordable as a car to own. But performance-wise, there really isn't much of a difference between any of these cars. It would be, it would be very, very insignificant, to be honest, based on the kind of weights that both these cars have. Those are where the differences would come in. But it really wouldn't be so strong as to, for the Magnite to affect the kind of performance that the Kiger has to offer, or for that matter, even the Punch. Now, it would find itself far closer to the Punch in terms of performance. But having said that, the Punch is significantly a better car, a nicer car, and certainly one of the best, or rather the best, that Tata Motors has ever brought out to date, and that is saying a lot. I mean, their cars over the last couple of years, 2-3 years, in fact, for that matter, have been getting better and better. And Punch, well, of course, certainly punches well above its weight with what it has to offer.
Okay, we have a question here from Rahul Ray. He's saying, isn't Maruti's Espresso better stuff? I don't think you can compare it with these two. But
Maruti's Espresso definitely doesn't compare in this test. Of course, where it places itself is a completely different segment, and of course a different kind of car. The Espresso is more city hatchback-ish kind of a car rather than more SUV-like aspirations. So it doesn't really come into this comparison at all. Would it be in this consideration also? I don't think so.
Okay. So we'll, I guess, wait for a couple of more people to join in. It's taken us a while to get back on this live show, so I guess people are not used to seeing us live as well. So we'll wait for a couple of people to join and some questions to come.
Why don't we go on to the news? So in the meantime, because there's been a lot of news.
There's a lot, in fact, to go through. So we'll just run through the news. The new Skoda Kodiaq has launched in India starting at 34.99 lakh rupees ex-showroom. It's available in 3 trims. The SUV is now powered by a 2-liter turbo petrol engine that makes 190 PS and 320 Newton meters, and it's paired to a 7-speed DCT. In fact, we have a lot more information coming your way, but next week, on Tuesday is when the review will be up. Land Rover has launched a new 5th generation Range Rover in India that's priced at 2.31 crore rupees ex showroom. It's available in 3 trims, the SE, HSE, and the Autobiography. The SUV will offer 3 powertrains. The P400 is powered by a 3-liter mild hybrid petrol, making 394 horsepower. The D350 is a 3-liter diesel, making 346 horsepower. And there's a very powerful 4.4-liter twin turbo V8, making 523 horsepower. Bookings are open now, but we don't know yet when deliveries will begin. Moving on, the facelifted model of the Camry Hybrid has launched in India at 41.7 lakh rupees ex showroom. Slight modifications have been made to the front grille with a chrome band at the top edge. The car gets new 18-inch alloy wheels with a split spoke design and darker taillight inserts. Another new addition is a 9-inch floating infotainment screen that offers improved smartphone integration and a 9-speaker JBL audio system. Audi India has started accepting bookings for the updated Q7 for an amount of 5 lakh rupees. This SUV is expected to be powered by a 3-liter V6 turbo petrol engine paired to a 8-speed torque converter. Various drive modes, adaptive air suspension, and quattro all-wheel drive is expected from this model as well. In fact, a review will be up on Wednesday as well. Review is embargoed until then. And Mercedes-Benz India is leading the luxury car market's 7th year in a row with 41% market share, is what they've announced in their second annual press conference earlier this week. Apart from this, the brand is all set to launch 10 new products in the market this year, starting with the MercedesMaybachSClass as soon as March, an all-electric EQS sedan that will be locally assembled at Mercedes' Chakan plant in Pune is most likely to launch at the end of this year. And we may also see the introduction of the Mercedes-AMG GT Black Series. At least we're hoping to see one. You can also catch the entire interview with Martin Schwenk, the MD and CEO of Mercedes-Benz India, on the OVERDRIVE website. On to some motorcycle news then. Chris, before we get back to you, there's a video that we want to play. The Yezdi brand has made a comeback. So here's a video on that.
Mahindra's Classic Legends has expanded its footprint with the resurrection of the popular motorcycling marque Yezdi. Like they did with Java a few years back, the relaunch of the Yezdi brand has spawned multiple models, namely a Roadster, a Scrambler, and an Adventure. Let's begin with the Roadster. Think of this to be Yezdi's version of the Java 42 2.1 with a similar double cradle frame. It has a higher ground clearance though of 175mm and has a front and rear wheel travel of 135mm and 100mm respectively. The base Roadster is priced around 7,000 rupees more than the range-topping Java 42 2.1, and the additional money gets you the larger 334cc single-cylinder engine derived from the Perak, albeit with lower power and torque figures. You also get LED headlamps, a larger seat, a smaller yet sleeker 12.5-litre tank, one size fatter tires at the front and rear, and a larger 320mm disc up front, unlike the Java's 280mm unit. The sum of all these differences makes the Roadster about 9 kilos heavier, tipping the scales at 184 kilos. The Scrambler uses a 19-inch front wheel and a 17-inch rear shod with 100 and 140 section tires respectively. With changes to the chassis geometry, the Scrambler sits on a much shorter 1403mm wheelbase compared to its siblings and has an increased 200mm ground clearance that also pushes the height for its single-piece ribbed banana seat up to 800mm. It has longer wheel travel too, 150mm at the front and 130mm at the rear. While it employs the same bibrake disc rotors and calipers as the Roadster, the Continental ABS unit comes with 3 modes: road, off-road and rain. The Scrambler also employs a twin exhaust layout like the Roadster, but these are angled higher. The engine puts out marginally lower power and torque figures, but we are guessing it has a stronger low and mid-range performance to go with its off-road intent. More on that with a road test. The range topper for the Yezdi range is the Adventure. At 1465mm, the Adventure has the longest wheelbase of the three siblings to give it better stability for touring use. It has the highest ground clearance too at 220mm, while the saddle height is 815mm. At 188 kilos, it is the heaviest of the three siblings. While the Roadster and the Scrambler share the lean fuel tank, the Adventure justifiably gets a 15.5-litre unit to go with its mile-munching intent. With two upriding and touring luggage to be lugged around, the engine is also tuned to produce higher power and torque than its siblings, which is also on par with its two primary rivals, the KTM 250 Adventure and the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Compared to its siblings, the Adventure employs a 21-inch wheel up front and a 17-inch rear. While a metal bash plate is standard across all the three bikes, the Adventure also benefits from protection parts for the tank and handlebar, and comes with a luggage rack that accommodates side and top panniers. The Adventure features a single upswept exhaust canister, which along with the panniers has necessitated a linked monoshock rear suspension. The Adventure claims the longest wheel travel of the three bikes, with a 200mm front and a 180mm rear travel. All the three motorcycles feature a reverse LCD display with a trip meter, distance to empty, time, ABS mode and gear indicator. While the Roadster and the Scrambler employ this in a circular instrument, the Adventure gets a tablet-style rectangular unit which can also be adjusted for tilt to suit a seated or standing up riding posture. Very thoughtful. The Yezdi range then draws a page out of the Triumph Bonnie textbook by having multiple body styles atop the same platform, whereas the pricing strategy seems much like Royal Enfield, with all color schemes priced differently from each other. How these motorcycles perform in the real world and against their competition remains to be seen. But going by how impressive the Jawas are, we expect the Yezdis to deliver on their promise.
All right, before we start questions,
Yes,
sorry,
Sohini.
before we start taking the questions, Chris, do you want to take us through the Honda motorcycle news as well?
Oh, all right, sure. So yes, so Honda has finally launched the CB300R. Now, this is the same bike that was showcased at IBW last year in December 2021, and it's launched at rupees 2.77 lakh ex showroom. Now, the biggest change comes in the form of its 286cc single-cylinder liquid-cooled motor, and basically it's bumped up. The power figure has bumped up by 1 PS over previous model, and it also produces around 27.5 Nm of torque. Now, the new bike also comes with a slip and assist clutch as standard. And while the previous bike came to India as a CKD unit, this one will be assembled locally, the 2022 CBR 300R, and it will be sold via the manufacturer's premium big wing dealerships across the country. And bookings for the motorcycle are open effectively already, like right now. So, yes, that's the CB300R for you.
All right, so just getting back to the Yezdi, Bert, Chris, how excited are you guys that this brand is back?
Well, to be fair, I mean, I think it's a tremendous job that Yezdi has done compared to what we've seen on the Jawas for that matter. And essentially, they've come out with motorcycles in segments that are far more appealing to a diverse range of consumers, whether it's the roadster style or whether it's the scrambler or even the ADV for that matter. I think all of these are well-selling and very aspirational, body styles. So I think in that sense, it will draw attention. It will get consumers. I don't see any concerns with the motorcycle as of now. Whatever plagued the Java, I'm hoping that Yezdi has taken and ironed out those issues, and then of course built up the Yezdis to be stress free, to be trouble free. But having said that, I think it's the company needs to kind of get sharper and progress in a stronger fashion. And we definitely don't want to see the kind of concerns that we had with the Java. They need to be a lot more aggressive if they want ESD to succeed, and especially when they are such interesting motorcycles. Now, for me, I think the Scrambler was of a lot of interest. Having said that, though, I think where power outputs are concerned, you should probably have done out, what the Adventure has got, slightly higher power ratings in the Adventure compared to the Scrambler. I think that would have been, to have done the same thing in the Scrambler would have been a nice touch. Overall, though, very impressive looking motorcycles. I think Yezdi is also, very conveniently, very nicely taken a page out of Royal Enfield with the Adventure. That styling is just too much of a, how would I say it, a copy of what you've seen on the Himalayan, just too similar to the Himalayan. Maybe there wasn't any other way for them to go through, but at the end of the day, it still is a handsome looking motorcycle, and I think that will also be one of the big sales, product for ESD. Though I think between the three motorcycles, it's the Roadster and the ADV that will bring in the bigger numbers.
Okay, Chris, we have a question here coming in from Apurv. He wants to know the Yezdi bikes look very exciting. Do you think they will attract young college goers in 2022 and ahead, given that their fathers probably belong to the CD 100 and Yamaha era rather than the Yezdi?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, pretty much. I think the bikes look attractive and well, on paper, at least as of now, they seem quite attractive, and they seem, yeah, they have a lot of stuff going for them. Of course, as you might have already checked out from the specifications, they have been compared to a lot of the Enfield motorcycles, especially the Adventure, Himalayan. And there are a lot of takers for these particular segments of motorcycle, like maybe the Adventure, the Roadster, or the Scrambler, like hipsters for that matter. I think they'll really take a liking to the Scrambler. But yeah, so now the interesting thing is, although it looks very similar, and it has been benchmarked against the Himalayan, the Adventure I'm talking about. I'm waiting to check out this particular motorcycle because, all right, it has the same ground clearance, it has the same suspension travel, and a lot of features, but it also makes a lot of power and a lot less torque. So it's a shorter stroke engine than the Himalayan. So while the Himalayan was better, it should technically be better off the road. I think the Yezdi, sorry, will be a better motorcycle to ride on the highway. So waiting to check this particular feature out and like ride these back to back and check it out. But yeah, as for your question, yeah, I don't see why college students wouldn't mind owning a Yezdi. Like I'm pretty kicked about it because I own an 83 D250 Classic, so I'm waiting to check if like Mahindra and Class Legends guys can provide me with some parts if for some godforsaken reason something goes wrong with my bike. So yeah, that's my first question. That's going to be like,
And that is the concern at the end of the day. It's not the bikes necessarily. No one's really going to doubt the credibility or the ability of the motorcycles themselves. It's the ability of the company to support their customers and to take the brand forward. I think that's going to be very, very crucial if
Yep.
Yezdi wants to succeed in this market. There is certainly a fan following. There certainly is there are people who are aware of the brand, for that matter. And like Apurva says, I don't think so. A lot of people and their fathers would have ridden at some point in time a Yezdi. I mean, I know I rode. That was the first motorcycle, in fact, that I ever rode. When I was an absolute kid, of course, I couldn't reach the pedals. I just couldn't reach the brake lever, the gear shift lever. And keep in mind, it had both the old ESDs had the same lever for kickstarting it, and then of course for the gears. But I definitely learned to ride those motorcycles back in Mangalore, my native place, because a lot of people out there in rural areas of India owned the ESD, or even later on the Rajdut. Like someone else asked me, I think who was that? There was a question that I
Mayur.
Mayur, yeah, in Rajdoot making a comeback. Well, maybe Rajdoot might make a comeback. You never know. But the fact remains that these bikes, the Yezdi motorcycles, essentially have got fairly large acceptance. There are a lot of people who still fondly remember these motorcycles. And I think that that sort of heritage will hold the company in good stead and will allow them to reach out to a fairly wide audience. That's one part of it. It's just the first part of it, of course, is that the strength of the motorcycles itself. I mean, it is brilliant to look at, and I think that is 50% of the job done for ESD. That their motorcycles are that attractive. So I'm hoping that the company can really give it the push from the back end that these motorcycles would need. But yes, let's hope that they succeed.
Okay, we'll go to the car questions. But one more from Apurv. Does the Kodiaq justify its 35 lakh price? How does it compare to the German competition?
Apurva, you can't really compare the Skodas to the German competition. Again, there is not much competition at this point in time, apart from the Taycan Tiguan. Again, I keep forgetting the names. I keep mixing them up again. They're both good options in either case. The Kodiaq, of course, has already established its credentials in the market, and there are a lot of people who appreciated the Kodiaq for what it is, and it was well priced. Now, 35 lakhs, there really isn't too many. Really aren't too many options that you can get. Again from the German brigade for that matter. A close friend, for instance, recently went to buy the 3 Series Grand Limousine, and that was about 65, 70 lakhs. And he came back. He went to the Skoda dealership, checked out the Kodiaq, and well, he liked the Kodiaq far better. He said, and you can see that there is a lot more practicality. There is a lot more space. The furnishings inside feel really upmarket. They feel premium. It feels like a well-built car, and it is a good car to drive overall. You will see the review very soon. Our guys were quite impressed with what the Kodiaq had to offer. Also, keep in mind, this is not a newer car or anything of the sort. The Kodiaq has already been there in the market, and Skoda was trying to get the car back quite some time now, and now they've been able to do that. They brought that back, and of course, they've added a few bits and bobs to it, so they made it a little more attractive. So yes, 35 lakhs, could they have been a little more affordable? Perhaps they could have been a little more affordable. I don't think it's a bad pricing. 35 lakhs is not bad pricing for the Kodiaq at all.
But here's a question from Chiranjeev. He says, while 7 seats is not a key requirement, he is currently shortlisted the Kodiaq LNK variant and the Mercedes GLA 220D. Requirement would be for long drives and occasional city use. Which one would you choose?
I would any day recommend the Kodiaq because you're getting a lot more practicality in it compared to the GLA to the GLA. Forget the 220D. Just the fact that you've got 3 rows of seating, you've got a larger cabin, you've got very premium finishings inside the car. All of that put together make the Kodiaq far more valuable. And this is something that we keep harping about, is that people need to consider options that are there otherwise from the 3 German brigades, from that brigade, the Munich, Stuttgart, and Ingolstadt. But it's not just Mercedes, BMW, and Audi that make great cars. It's also the other manufacturers, even if it's a Czech brand at the end of the day. Skoda is doing tremendously well, has built some tremendously good products for that matter. And the Kodiaq is certainly testament to some of the finest engineering, European engineering for that matter, and character that you could get in a market like India at that price point. Again, like even Purva was mentioning about his choices there. 35 lakhs, keep in mind, for a 7-seater, for a 3-row seating SUV is not bad at all. You've got a great engine. It's powerful. It's refined. It's got that automatic transmission again, which makes it very, very practical for city use. If space is an issue, okay, if space is a concern, then yes, the GLA would certainly tick off those boxes because it's a lot more compact, a lot smaller, a lot more nimbler than the Kodiaq. But however, if you like long drives, you want to get out of town somewhere, Chiranjeev, then of course it's the Kodiaq, and the LNK of course is the better equipped one. The Kodiaq makes a lot more sense. That is the car that you will enjoy driving wherever you take it to.
Okay, here's an interesting question from Ankit Nima. Any news about flex fuel engines? When can we expect OEMs to bring them to India?
Well, Ankit, again, there is a lot of confusion around this. The government is still pushing hard to get flex fuel into the country and has been insisting that manufacturers do so. But there still isn't complete clarity on this as of yet. Most manufacturers are quite against it simply because it means changing a lot of systems inside their vehicles and adapting their engines to accommodate flex fuel. And of course, the benefits really aren't there, to be honest, where flex fuel is concerned. So let's see. We are still waiting to see to hear about what is going to happen. But I think we will have there may be few developments happening in the next couple of months. Let's see how it pans out on it.
Autotech Space wants to know, do you guys think Mahindra has plans to shuffle variants of the XUV 700 in the future, like giving some additional packs to AX5 variant or the AX3, or simply add features to those variants?
Well, we'll see. Autotech Space, we'll see exactly what the variant mix is going to be like in the next few months. Keep in mind, right now, Mahindra's biggest challenge is delivering cars. We're hearing all sorts of scary stories coming in where customers have been told to wait almost up to about a year, if not longer. In fact, another friend of mine who went in to buy the XV 700 was told that he could get delivery only sometime in June 2023. That's almost a year and a half away. Yes, they will have to consolidate the variants that they've got. Maybe some variants might just be moved out of the equation, and so that Mahindra is able to cater to the demand that is there for the XUV 700. But they have not given any indication of what they're going to be doing as of now. It's still fairly early. Just keep in mind, the XV700 just went on commercial sale just what 2 or 3 months, 2 months ago, for that matter. So 3 months ago. So yes, they will take some time for any news to come about, whether the variants are going to be shuffled around or dropped or modified. What is going to happen exactly? Uh, Adding features at this point in time, I don't think that's something Mahindra is going to do, because that puts an additional strain on them in their supply chain, for their supply chain concerns that they've got, as well as the semiconductor shortage. So they're not going to add in features. If at all they do anything, they might take out certain features where they see it would delay production even further. So there you have it. I don't think Mahindra is going to be doing anything at this point in time other than ensuring that whatever cars have been booked, to make sure those customers get their vehicles in hand.
But Anish Thomas wants to know, what are your views on the color changing BMW shown in the CES? Will it become a reality?
Anish, well, yes, it will become a reality. Of course, it will become a reality. It's fantastic technology. Should it be there on cars? Well, why not? I mean, I would love to have a car that's probably white in the day and that can be used as an Uber taxi, and then of course shift that color to dark black or something of that sort in the night when I want to go out and party. But having said that, I do think I do think it's fairly interesting technology. It's something that's really unique. I mean, CES has always thrown up some very interesting stuff, and undoubtedly BMW's color changing SUV was certainly one of the highlights of this. I mean, keep in mind, we've kept seeing all these color changing cars happening on Instagram, on social media, but all of that has been video editing. But today, finally, we've actually seen a physical car that can change color, and I think it's pretty brilliant. I mean, something of that sort. Consumers certainly want a lot of choices in their cars, especially color schemes. And if you can offer a car that shifts between two colors, maybe more in the future, you never know. Why not? Of course, I think it's absolutely brilliant. Will it become reality? I definitely think it will become reality.
All right. Ruthvik wants to know, which car do you think, between the Superb and the Kodiaq, the on-road price in Bangalore being 45 and 47 respectively, and also what fuel efficiency can we expect from the car while Superb fuel efficiency is known?
But I think it all depend on the kind of usage that you have for these vehicles. I mean, the Superb is a brilliant car, fantastic to drive, absolutely gorgeous, brilliant dynamics, brilliant ride quality. The cabin itself just feels so incredible. I think it's a brilliant car altogether. But the Kodiaq's not too far behind, and that this is a question that is confusing a lot of potential owners, potential consumers for either these two Skoda cars, whether they should go in for the Superb or whether they should go in with the Kodiaq. And where the Kodiaq stands apart, of course, is the practicality and the value that you get from it. Being an SUV, you get a lot more space inside that cabin. I wouldn't say a lot more space, but you certainly get a lot more headroom. The middle row space has not been very impressive, but nonetheless, you get that larger boot area, a lot more practical boot space. The furnishings, the fittings on the Superb certainly feel a lot nicer on the whole. So if you're looking for that additional bit of premiumness, I would recommend the Superb as a car to own. Also being more cost effective. The Kodiaq, if you're looking for a little more practicality, and the third row of seating, very, very crucial in this segment. If you're looking for the third row seating, then the Kodiaq is the choice that you would need to make. The price would really not make a difference over here. I'm not really going to question that. Also, from the fuel efficiency part, keep in mind the Kodiaq is the heavier SUV here, and the fuel efficiency will get affected. It will not be as good as what you get on the Super.
Okay, Chris, we have a question here from Dennis Nicholas. He wants to know, is the FZ25 getting an update this year?
Yeah, so in all probability, like every model, it'll get its new model year updates, and it will probably get new cosmetic updates. Engine and the underpinnings will remain the same. It'll probably get a better projector lamp. I think that was one of the issues with the previous bike, and yeah, just cosmetic updates. Not much to go on that.
Okay, but what is the best car you can buy under 45 lakh rupees? This is like a wide spectrum.
Oh man, there's just a lot of choices. There's just a lot of choices. But well, if I had to put it that way, I mean, one of the cars that I would pick under that 45 lakh rupee bracket would one of the choices would be the Citroen, the C5 across. Brilliant car. I drove it recently to Goa and it was just fantastic, absolutely brilliant as a product. But it would be a tough call. There are a lot of choices in this market under that 45 lakh rupee bracket. One of them, of course, is the Kodiaq as well. Then that's one of the choices. I'm listing out more of the SUVs because I definitely see a lot more value in them because you get better practicality, you get better usability, and given the road conditions that we've got in India, I would any days go in for an SUV over a sedan. That's one of the big. Decision points if I had to choose a car. But I think a good choice overall would be the Citroen C5.
Okay, we have a question here from Sanjay Patil. He asks us any news about EV charging infrastructure in India. Sanjay, let us know if there's anything in particular you want to know.
Yes, Sanjay. Is there anything specific that you need to know about the EV charging infrastructure? Because this is a fairly large space. In the meantime, Soini, there's also another question from Nitin Joshua. Can we expect the new Gen C-Class to come in 2022 to India? Yes, Nitin, that's one of the cars that Mercedes-Benz Martin Schwenk has confirmed. Again, in that interview, if you watch that on our YouTube channel, you'll see in that interview very clearly mentioned that the C-Class is one of those that will be making a comeback to India again this year. Apart from that, you've got the EQS, the S-Class Maybach, and of course, there are several other products. 10 new products is what Martin Schwenk has said will be coming to India, and 4 of them you already know, 6 more that will be coming out towards the throughout the year. A lot of them will be AMGs. Also keep that in mind. What he also has said is that the B class, the GLB, also don't entirely put that out of reckoning. Though in the past they've said there really hasn't been much of a market for it. But it's quite possible that Mercedes might consider that for the Indian markets as well.
What Kunal Shah wants to know is the BMW 330i worth it?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely. Any BMW at the end of the day is worth it.
Okay. Here's a question. Any idea when the new Polo 2022 will be launched since the current generation model is discontinued?
Well, I think, Faiz Ahmed, we will hear more about the Polo in this year. If at all there is anything that Volkswagen will be doing with the hatchback, it would happen in 2022 itself. We will hear about it at the very least. Whether that car would come out this year or the next is doubtful. In all probability, it might be next year because right now, what Volkswagen has got is their own version of the Slavia, the sedan. And that will be the one product that will come out in the market in 2022. That's something that we know already. Apart from that, they will be consolidating a lot of their SUV portfolio and managing that because they've now got the Tiguan, the Taygun, the T-Roc also possibly might make a comeback into India. There'll be more kits ordered of that and something will happen in that space as well. And then, of course, there are lots of other variants that they will play around for this year. So they've got a fairly busy year. In between that, they just may throw in some news, if not, introduce the smaller Polo for the Indian market. We're also keeping our fingers crossed that at some point in time they also come with their electric portfolio and they showcase that also. So let's see. We will have some information for you within the month, by the end of the month, on what Volkswagen is up to exactly where the Polo is concerned.
But do people still need to be concerned about Skoda's after-sales service?
Well, not really. They have improved considerably, and while I mean, they spent almost 2 years hammering home the fact that a lot of their costs, for instance, is something that they have taken care of. There is a lot of transparency that's come on board with that. So a lot of Skoda owners can ask for the prices, see and compare those prices, what they are like. But yes, there's still that niggling doubt at the back of the mind. Though most customers today have a stress-free experience with their Skoda dealership, with the Skoda workshops. So I don't think that is an issue any longer. Cost of spares also in past used to be a bit of an issue, but like I said, they have addressed that issue. Skoda has worked on that quite hard, and they have corrected those, and they've really you can effectively go down to a workshop and check on this and get an idea of what those prices are vis-a-vis competition also.
But in fact, he's even asked whether there's a problem with the DSG gearbox in the long run.
Well, there's a lot of people who are complaining about the DSG gearbox, but it's not a consistent problem, and there have been certain issues, especially overheating concerns with the DSG. But a lot of those have been taken care of. Does it have any problems in the long term? Not any longer, not in at least for the life cycle of the car.
All right. Aditya wants to know, does the new BMW X4 30D, will it come by the first quarter of this year?
Aditya, we're not sure as of now. What we do know is that, like everybody else, BMW also is being plagued by several issues, logistical challenges, semiconductor shortages. So there will be several new products that BMW will introduce in 2022. Would the X4 be there? I'm not sure. It may be there, but again, they're also not finalized their plans, and we will know more about this as time goes by. I hope not too long from now. In fact.
But Niels wants to know, between the Jeep Compass diesel and the Skoda Kodiaq, which one is a better pick?
Kodiaq Niels, Kodiaq for sure. Better car to drive overall.
Ravi Singh wants to know, he's booking a MG Astro style variant, or should he go for the Seltos HTE? Can the MG effect on resale? Does it have a more effect on the resale? That's his concern.
Ravi, okay, so what I do know is that at this point in time, MG is facing severe crunches in delivering, the products to the consumers. They came out with a message to this effect, also saying, asking people to consumers to bear with them. But we do know that the Astor is selling fairly well. They do not have enough products in the market as of now. They got major supply issues, and of course, demand also is fairly high. But it's also the case with the Seltos for that matter. You may get better resale value for your Seltos compared to the MG at this point in time. That's all I could say. So yes, that if that helps you make a choice between either of those, then there you have it. The Seltos will certainly command better resale value than the MG Astor.
All right, Ravi, I hope you got your answer. I guess that's about it, but we've answered all the questions. Chris, you're there, right? You're not frozen.
No, I can
Oh,
see
there's
you
one
moving.
more. One
Yeah,
more
I'm
question
around.
coming in from things just got out of hands. Skoda Superb versus the X1 bot.
Superb, superb, superb. Better, nicer car to drive overall.
All right, so guys, before we wrap up the show, we'll just quickly take a look at what's on the television show tomorrow at 1 p.m. on CNBC TV 18. You can tune in as we bring you a detailed comparison test of the new Tata Punch against the Renault Kiger, in case you've missed that story. And we find out what's new in the facelifted Volvo XC60. You can catch a repeat telecast of this on Sunday at 12:30 and 8 p.m. as well. We'll see you next week then. Stay safe.
So, okay, there are a couple of questions more that have come in. Manish Gupta, any chance of a Harrier facelift in 2022? There will be certain revisions that will come in for sure. What we do know is that a lot of the focus will now shift towards the Safari, as they've indicated that it will come out as an EV. So that is one of the areas that is one of the products that will come out very, very shortly. But yes, alongside that, there will be some amount of changes, a few changes to the Harrier as well. Would it be a complete facelift, or would it just be feature introductions? We're not sure at this point in time, but we will get you some information on that very soon, Manish. But yes, expect some news for the Harrier. Two, Mayur's been asking a question several times now. There was debate going on in his house. He's fond of the Superb and his family is fond of the Fortuner. He's the one who's going to drive the car. How do you convince them for the Superb? Well, the very tough. Mayur, try to convince your family that the more practical, larger, multiple row seating car is, not the better choice to go in for, especially if you are wanting to buy this as a family vehicle. Then possibly the Fortuner might win out over here. At the end of the day, it's also a Toyota, so don't forget that bit. You've got that ease of mind, service, and ownership experience from there. And given the condition of our roads, I would say the Fortuner would certainly be a wiser choice. If you're not buying the car for yourself alone, then the Fortuner is what it is. But if you are the one who's picking up a car just for yourself, then the Superb would undoubtedly be the car to pick. Another
What
question
about
that's coming
Ford
from
as well? There's a
Ford
question
as well.
about Ford.
Well,
What
yes,
car?
yes. What cars are coming from Ford? Well, Ford does not, again, guys, Ford does not have a presence in India like it did any longer. Keep that in mind. So they will not be doing mass market products anymore. They very clearly indicated this. What they are going to get is certain CBUs imports, which will be the new Mustang, which would be the Raptor, which will possibly also be the Focus, like we had mentioned earlier. So these are some of the cars that they're looking at getting out into the market. These will all be CBUs. They will be a little slow right now. These are not going to come out immediately, but they will come out in this year. They should, something like that should be coming out in this year. Keep that in mind, because they are busy right now consolidating their issues with the dealerships, ironing those out, and making sure that the network is still there in place in India, and that they're able to support those dealers and the customers that already own Ford products in India. Someone also mentioned about the Endeavour. Denim Nicholas talked about the Endeavour, which was about to get launched in Australia. You're talking about the Everest. Well, it won't come down to India again. Denim, unfortunately, that it's the end of the line for those kind of products. Mass market products will not see the light of day in India, at least for some time, or until Ford decides to go down that route again, which I think is a fairly tough challenge for them. Russo Pete wants to know, kindly advise for a budget of 10 lakhs, Magnite CVT, Kiger CVT, MA CVT, Baleno CVT, Punch AMT, Desire AMT, good practical car. I think of all of these, your better choices would be the Kiger CVT, practical at the end of the day, also a fairly good car. If you just compare it against the Punch, and the Kiger turns out to be the slightly better car than the Punch over there. 40 kilometers per day, easy to maintain and reliable for long ownership. I think the Kiger would tick all the boxes that you have, Pete. Paul wants to know, will the Punch get a better engine and decent automatic transmission? Again, there will be a lot of changes, a lot of additions, revisions, feature updates coming out to several of the Tata cars in this year. But we'll just wait and watch what the Punch also has to offer. Nothing is being set in stone as of now, but we will know shortly what they're doing with the Punch. Can we expect an automatic transmission? I don't know what's the definition of a decent automatic transmission, Paul, because it's all a price-conscious market as well at the end of the day, and you get what you get. What will be the expected fuel consumption of Skoda Kodiaq? Ayush, well, just wait for our story to come out. You will have all the answers in that. We've driven the Kodiaq, and you will get your answers in that story. Well, I think that's more or less everything that we've got. Things just got out of hands. Is asking, will Superb get an upgrade this year, or is it the 2021 facelift version? No, it's there won't be any upgrades coming in this year right now. Like I said, Skoda and Volkswagen will be consolidating the existing product mix that they've got for the Indian market, and they will essentially make sure that those cars are selling well and pushing those products in. Keep in mind, everyone's facing supply crunch issues, logistical issues, semiconductor shortage issues. So try and getting out more products in this market, especially where there are so many delays, is not the smartest move right now. So things will probably slow down for this year again.
But
I think
one last,
again,
there's
yeah.
one last one. What Surjashi says, your thoughts on the luxury brands sales on an all-time high in cars at this time?
Well, Sushi's, this is something that confounds us also, but I'm not really surprised, to be honest, because a lot of people have kept in mind. A lot of people in at least luxury brand buyers have not spent money going overseas, have saved up a lot of money on those holidays, on expensive spends otherwise, and things like that. And the only other place that you can spend them on is either real estate, or which is good investment, or you can also splurge and buy some great cars. And effectively, what I do know, for example, as Mercedes, very put it in its presentation, they have still got a backlog of about 3,000 orders. They already had 11,400 cars, which is the highest they've ever sold. And they've still got some 3,000 orders that they've got to fulfill. There's certain cars in the premium segments, especially in the CBUs, which apparently has a waiting, period of almost about a year. They're not able to deliver those cars because the demand is at an all-time high. I think it's fantastic. I think all the luxury car makers are making hay while the sun is shining on them. I do hope that we see a lot more of these cars coming out in CKD form in the country, and possibly at some point in time I doubt it. I highly doubt it, but I don't think any of these manufacturers are actually going to get into full assembly or full manufacture over here, local manufacturer. But fingers crossed that they do, because that would really bring down the price of those cars. But yes, it's a tremendous time for them. There are a lot of people out there who are buying cars, and it's not just the brand new cars. Let me also tell you this: it's even in the second-hand market that we are seeing, in the used car market. Mercedes told me, Martin Schwenk clearly told me that even the used car business has been doing tremendously well for them. They've really been able to push through a lot of cars, used Mercedes Benzes, to to a whole new breed of owner, for that matter. And that is tremendous news for luxury brands overall. I consistently see a lot more of the BMWs, Audis, Mercedes Benzes, that was in the pre-sold market, for that matter. So I think it's there's a big boom happening in that space, and it will continue to happen. People have got the money to spend this year, and they are spending it on cars, which is a great sign. We're seeing some fantastic cars on the road.
All
Paul
right,
MK
guys.
says by decent transmission, he means at least an IMT. We'll just wait and watch, Paul. I think they would one of those transmissions would come in as a mix sometime later this year. But we will wait for official confirmation from Tata Motors on that move for now.
Any more, boy? Urban Cruiser or Tata Nexon?
No, I think we can wind off today, guys, and we'll keep and serve a few of the. We'll save some of the questions for next week. But yeah, okay, I think this one last one. Rohit Chauhan's asking us Urban Cruiser or Tata Nexon, which is better? Well, they're both good cars. What would tilt the scales in favor of the Urban Cruiser is that it's being sold by Toyota, so you've got that at the back end. You've got that ownership experience that Toyota brings to that badge. Again, it's the same car as the Brezza, so not significantly a better product than the Tata Nexon. The Tata Nexon also is a great product at the end of the day. If I had to weigh in for the Urban Cruiser, it would only be because Toyota lends its ownership experience to consumers, its ownership, its services to its consumers, and that is an unbeatable proposition. So, Urban Cruiser for Europe.
All right, guys, I think we've answered plenty of questions today. Your likes have to be directly proportional to the questions that are being answered. So give us a thumbs up. Every person who has asked questions, I think they should give us a thumbs up. We'll see you guys next week. So thanks so much for joining us today, and stay safe.
Yes, guys, stay safe. Again, don't let third wave, take you down. Just stay indoors, stay well masked up, sanitize. Don't forget those three things. And of course, we've been out, and we've all got affected. Again, just to kind of reiterate today's show, everybody out here that you see on the screen in front of you has got the third wave, has been affected by Omicron. And while we've tried our best to get you some of the stories, a lot of us have been down and out for the count, and it's been a tough time. One of them, in fact, is Rohit. Also, for that matter, is not here today on the show with us, because he's also been affected pretty badly, and he's recuperating at home. And I wish all of you stay safe. Avoid being brave about it. It just delays everything. So just stay at home, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you next week again. And next week,